Hello and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. Adam here. I have done a bunch of landings on the Mun after the landing that I did in the last episode. I ended up doing a total of 5 more, so that brought us up to a total of 6 in different biomes. Brought us back a lot of science. I left flags pretty much. I think I left a flag at every landing site over there. So the Mun has been not completely explored. There's still biomes to go, but you can kind of see where I've... Let's go ahead and turn on the flag filter here. See where I've landed. So, got a pretty decent amount of stuff. Those have all been manned. I'm only leaving flags, obviously, at manned missions, so those are all manned missions there. We need to gather more science still. Now, I do have a lot of mods that add extra science modules and stuff, but we're going to be sending a craft out of Kerbal system, and let's head out to Eve. We have a transfer window coming up, so I want to get something out to Eve because I've actually never sent anything to Eve before. So let's see here. Probe. Where did I put it? Where did I put it? Comm relay module 1. Now we're going to need to improve our comm systems before we can launch anything out there. So what I have here is the first part of a relay station. It's going to be unmanned. This is going to be used for the future for quite a bit of things, but for now, it's just got a couple of dishes here. There'll probably be 2 of these launched eventually, and like an actual station truss and stuff set up. I haven't really designed the whole station yet, but we need to get this thing off the ground before we can do much of anything. Did I put radiators on this thing? I don't think I did. Hopefully waste heat won't become an issue before too long. Are there no radiators on this thing? Yeah, there's... I should probably put a radiator of some sort on, but I'm not going to. Well, no, I am. I have an idea for what to do about the radiator system. I don't want radiators to be a permanent part of this, but this part is not going to be attached forever. It's going to be attached just temporarily. So let's go ahead and add at least a couple small radiators on here, because this should keep it going for a while at least, I would think. What does this say? Yeah, it says we'll be alright. So that won't be permanently installed. This can crash back later. Worry about that. And actually, one other thing I wanted to do while we're at it, making changes. I don't want to be crashing anything with a nuclear engine into Kerbal anymore. Decided in this series I'm not going to do that, but we still do need to get it down, which means we'll come up with a safe way to do that, which is pretty simple. We'll just put some parachutes on, and that should hopefully be a safe way to return that to Kerbal. It's going to bug me if this is not symmetrical. There we go. Go ahead and update our craft file, and I think that this thing is going to have kind of a funky flight profile here. It doesn't have a lot of thrust, but it should have enough fuel to get us to where we need to go. And I've unlocked the handy dandy ascent module thingy. I don't want that, I want ascent. There we go. So we have most of MechJub unlocked now, and I am not going to manually fly this because I don't want to. So staging looks good, I think. Let's do it. Go MechJub, you got this. Now, it does have a decent amount of thrust here in this first stage. Let's take a look at... I don't want that crap up. Get out of here. Delta V information, so we can kind of keep track of what's going on there. Because it is going to start... It only has less than a 1-to-1 thrust weight ratio here. Which means it's going to start slowing down when this stage separates. Until it burns off some fuel. So, it's going to be a long trip here, I think. How much time do we have for our transfer? 6 days, 11 hours. Okay. That should be enough time to get this up into place beforehand. More than enough time, I would think. Alright, so we're starting to accelerate again, I think. I need my orbity info. Orbity info. No, we're still decelerating, but our apoapse this time is kind of stabilized there. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we're gaining speed again. Okay. So, come on, Apoapsis. There you go. There you go. So it's going to take a little bit, and I suppose I'll meet you in space, barring any unfortunate random disassemblies. We really need the mainsail. Alright, so just looking at things, I'm going to go with 20,000 kilometers here. That looks like it's well within our Delta V budget for this rocket. It should be well outside of the Mun's sphere of influence, I think, because it's like almost twice as far out as the Mun. So I think we should be safe from any sort of random interactions with the Mun out there as well. So let's head out there, get this thing done. Is this even turning? I think it is. Doesn't have a lot of torque for this size, I think, is the problem. Yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there. We should have a sunrise in a second. We got sun coming up. I always like a good sunrise. Oh wow, the burn is... Let's actually redo that. Remove that and create and execute, just because the timing of that got kind of screwed up. Now we're in a nearly circular orbit, so I'm not really worrying about burning at my apoapsis versus, you know, periapsis or whatnot. We're just burning where we want to because it's a pretty circular orbit. It's not a big deal. I feel like this thing is telling me we should already be burning, though. Is this going to be a problem? Yeah, it wasn't lying about the time. So that's going to be slightly off. We'll have to make some fine-tuning adjustments. This thing turns like a frigging luxury liner here, so a little bit rough in terms of getting these maneuvers done. I'm going to have to utilize MechJeb a lot in the coming mission here because of the signal delay. I'm actually thinking about turning signal delay off because I feel like I'm going to be able to land better, especially on Gilly, than MechJeb probably will with the probe that I've designed. So I'm going to have to think about that, how that's going to work. We'll see. Alright, well, I kind of realized a pretty big problem potentially in the works here, which is that the orbit that I want to do for this is pretty dang far away from any of my lower relay satellites. Not sure we're going to actually be in range still. These omnidirectional antennas only have a range of 9 million meters, and I'm going to have to focus one of these on mission control and hope that we will be in range often enough that it will work. Because if we're not near the Mun, I don't think this is going to work with the system that I have. But I guess we'll see. So let's go ahead and deal with circularizing. Yeah, I didn't really think of that. I need to put a mid-range dish on here or something, but I didn't do that. Uh-oh. I hope it's going to work out, because we don't have a lot of time to launch something else up here and rendezvous and all that stuff before we get to our transfer window there. So gonna have to hope for the best here. This thing really does turn ridiculously slowly, but we'll see how it functions when it gets out there. I might have to launch another section of it kind of immediately, sooner than I had wanted to expand it. Yeah, we have no connect. We got a connection again. No connection. It's just going to depend on where Kerbal happens to be facing, doesn't it? This is something. We got lucky here, and Kerbal, the mission control came up again here, but that's going to cause some severe issues for launching stuff, isn't it? We're coming up. I was like, are you going to stop for the burn? Yes, you are. But that's going to cause some severe issues in terms of we're going to be losing connections at important times on down on Kerbal and stuff. So I'm going to have to figure out what to do for this, because I don't want to be lose signal while I'm trying to land something on Eve or something is the main thing. Well, I guess it wouldn't matter on Eve so much because the parachute will probably be out, but you know what I mean. I don't want to miss a critical burn because something stupid happens with this relay stuff. Relays are hard. It's complicated to sort out, but we'll get it. Get this orbit. My burn being late kind of screwed us over here too, so we have to fix up this orbit a little bit. I don't know, 21,000 sounds fine. It's not really important what orbit this is in particularly. Just wanted it to be far enough away that it's out of the moon's influence and Kerbal doesn't block like a huge portion of the sky all the time. So this will work. Might even want to boost it out further eventually. The thing is, like, intercepts I found get to be kind of hard the further out you go because the margins get real small on stuff. So let's go ahead and think about this for a little bit. I think I might need to launch. See, the issue is that none of these satellites in the lower orbit, they're all spoken for in terms of what they're relaying already. I use a triple redundancy system with all this. You can see there's 3 satellites in equatorial orbit. Each one of those is focused at 3 satellites in orbit of the Mun, and then there's polar orbits. Those are all focused on Minmus. So I guess we don't need to necessarily fix this before this ship leaves. We can kind of fix it as we go. We do have still more than 5 days, so I'm going to give this some thought. I think what I'll probably end up having to do is, it almost makes sense to put ground controls things like a third of the way around the planet, so there'd always be one facing out here. Because then I could just target Kerbal probably and get a signal. I wonder if that would work. I don't know. Nothing's targeting out this way though, is it? Because all these have degrees that they function on now too. That's another change they made in remote tech that I'm not that familiar with. Each one of these has an arc of like, 15 or 20 degrees where it can actually see. So if you're focused on a planet, it will like pretty much cover the whole thing on one side. That might be a way to go to. Well, I'm going to give this some thought and I will be back. Alright, so I actually changed the inclination of this to 22.5 degrees thereabouts. I don't know why exactly. I just wanted to get it on a slightly different orbit. Seems like it will diminish the amount of time that it's blocked by Kerbal as well. I definitely see Eve off in the background, and we only have 3.5 days, well, almost 4 days left before we have to get there. So, what? Cannot do what? Well, what? Why are we throttled up here? Let's go ahead and save that. I wonder, I'm gonna reload if this does not work, probably, but can I separate? I don't see why I wouldn't be able to separate this and go return it to Kerbal. Let's go ahead and decouple the node. And is this still functional? I believe it is. Yes, it is. Okay. Now there's no RCS on this thing, so, and it seems like she's gonna turn kind of slow. See if we can't get this thing. Oh, good thing that antenna can clip through stuff. And of course I went the wrong way. I want to try returning this thing back to Kerbal right now. Unfortunately the radiators are on this. That wasn't very well thought out, was it? But we'll be launching more components for this comm station in the future. So hopefully it won't be an issue. Now, okay, that engine nozzle is clear. Just want to make sure. Now hopefully this probe can get this kind of under control here. Gonna go for a nice gentle atmospheric re-entry here, I think. And I need to reactivate the engine. Alright, where is my orbit info? Oh, I already have it up. So we'll get this thing down inside the atmosphere, hopefully. Yeah, we have tons of fuel, should be able to do that. Get this thing down inside the atmosphere and see how the recovery program works for this thing. Now I want to go at a kind of high altitude and have it come down gently because it doesn't have any sort of heat shield on it. And I kind of have a feeling we're going to be coming in at some pretty screaming speeds. So we'll take it a little easy. We'll probably go for a target of 40,000. That seems reasonable. And did we just run out of communications range? Well, at least it shuts down the engines. This thing might be... What is going on here? We are getting some glitchiness with that. Yeah, that is glitched out. I don't know how to fix that. I guess we'll be able to, next orbit where they come together, be able to deorbit that. We already got out of communications range? Oh, that got out of communications range is what happened. That's a problem. Because I was like, there's no way we're 9 million. Yeah, we are about 9 million kilometers now, but we weren't. Well, we'll figure out how to get this thing home later, I guess. I assume it will come into comms range at some point again. Maybe. We'll just have to keep an eye on that. So, I think what I want to do to keep this station from having this problem, like I said, is we're going to launch some additional satellites, probably not into a geostationary orbit, because they don't really need to be in a geostationary orbit. I'll probably put them in a mid-range orbit, just inside the MUN's orbit, so something will always see Kerbal Space Center and they can relay the signals out here, but that'll be something to deal with after the Eve window here. That kind of sucks that happened. Maybe I should have just burned more aggressively. Alright, I'm actually doing post-commentary now because this took a long time to return, but it came within the orbit of the MUN and I got control back, basically is what happened. I should have realized that that was going to happen. I got it down to a decent periapsis, and it's in the process of re-entering the atmosphere here. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to do this was because I wanted to kind of toy with aerobraking with a craft that I may or may not be in control of, for one thing, and one that doesn't have a heat shield. This engine did a really good job of actually absorbing the heat. It wasn't a problem. As long as you come in shallow enough, it seems you don't really need a heat shield. The second thing was I pre-deployed the parachutes because I knew I was going to have to retract the antenna before it came into the atmosphere because it was probably going to get ripped off. So I pre-deployed those parachutes, and they functioned just fine here. And there we go, touchdown. Main chutes deployed just fine. They didn't rip everything apart, but the little probe thingy at the front did fly off. But the main thing is the engine came down safe. I learned a little bit about dealing with unmanned controlled re-entries, and that thing's bouncing around like crazy, the recover thing. That's weird. Alright, so this is the first of the probes we're going to be sending to Eve. I'm hoping we'll be in good shape with this thing. It theoretically has enough delta V. I had to counterbalance this antenna here, which weighs 0.7. I tried to do my best. I put 2 of these antennas on, which don't weigh very much, but I did add 4 of these goo containers, which weigh 0.15, so that's 0.6 plus the extra stuff, so it should be pretty close to being centered. I should probably really add one of these bad boys on here too. How much does that didn't cost too much delta V. I think we'll do that. Add one of those on. Hopefully that'll give us a little bit better of control over it. Let's go ahead and update the save. See if we can get this thing up in space. Now, I really don't have a reason to have 4 goo containers. I guess it'll be good to get some science from a couple of different orbits around Eve and Gilly. But the main reason I did that, like I said, was just ballast to counteract the weight, so that, I mean, that's, oh, she's a little wiggly. That's kind of enough weight that it could be a problem, so I want to make sure that it's not. This stuff all looks good. I do want to fix this so we're not just falling when we try to launch here. And let's go. A little bit of a, it's not too slow of a start. It's not wobbly anymore now that we're under thrust, so that's good. Unfortunately, I think these have enough range, but unfortunately to have range like this, these things are pretty damn heavy. Remote tech makes ship design a little more complicated. There's really no reason to put 2 of these dishes on, so I figured we could at least get some science out of some superfluous goo containers. And, ooh, that was scary. I haven't launched this, so we'll see how this goes. I'm a little worried about the second craft more because it has 4 probes on it and it weighs a lot more, so not worried about this one, I guess I would say. I am concerned, but I'm more worried about the second one. And I had to do this counterbalance thing on that as well until I come up with a better solution. I guess you can try to put an antenna on the front or something, but for future missions that'll probably work. But for the way I have these probes done, it wasn't really a very good option. So, alright, we're still accelerating. We slowed down for a little bit there. Just not a super high apoapsis. We'll see how this goes. And one of my favorite features of this KW rocket pack is that there's these interstage adapter thingies that actually contain fuel. And so instead of just being wasted space and mass on your rocket like they are with some of the KSP vanilla ones. You actually get fuel in there, which is cool, because that makes sense to me. So we still got like more than 2 minutes on this stage. I'm actually feeling pretty good about this rocket now. Where did I put that omnidirectional antenna on here? I did not set that up in an action group either, I don't think, so gonna have to look for it. Omnidirectional antenna, where are you? Can't see very much, it's kind of dark. Those are regular. I know there's an is that our omni? That looks like an omnidirectional antenna. Yep. Get that bad boy out there. Those things are pretty tough. They're not gonna get torn off at this speed. I've flown around with those out a couple times on some of my return ships from satellite from launching satellites when I was deorbiting them, because I've actually launched a couple of these observer satellites over Kerbal and the Mun. I haven't done Minmus yet. I'm going to do that on film probably the next episode. Kind of ran out of time here because of the window opening up to get this launch done. But those antennas, I haven't had one come off yet. They seem like they don't really get affected too badly by drag. They'll burn up, but they won't break off. So it's not like some of the other antennas that just explode. Now, did I actually set up an action group for these is the question. Fingers crossed. Yes, I did. I was intelligent for once. So we're going to leave this fairing on, because even though I don't think it really matters, I'm going to be aero braking hopefully around Eve, so I want to leave that on. Plus it keeps it mysterious and protects the payload. I really do like these ASUS solar panels a lot. They have these little stemmy thingies that come out here. I'm highlighting stuff with my mouse to try to get it to show up. We'll see it better in a minute when we come up on the sun, but I really like the design of these. They stick out around stuff. They don't get blocked by being too close in like the stock ones do. Much better solar panels. Alright, so we're coming up on separation here. And nothing blew up. And I think things are looking pretty good. Things didn't get way crazy unstable here. So it must be counterbalanced enough that it doesn't matter, because we're under a lot less thrust now. So the fact that the rocket seems able to mainly compensate is probably... Well, it's kind of leaning down a little in the front, isn't it? Where's the satellite dish? There it is. So I don't know, that has me a little bit concerned. Seems like it's leaning. Yeah, look, it's like dipping down below the horizon here, where it's actually pointing. Oh, here come the solar panels around. And flip around, solar panels. Solar panels. Blocked by Kerbal. How are you blocked by Kerbal? Look at all that light. What are you talking about, solar panels? Alright, the sun. There they go. So what are we looking at here? Still increasing. Decreasing. Increasing. That was a confusing little thing there. I am a little worried about staying on target. I guess we'll figure out if it's going to stay on target when we go to do the circularization, because if that works, then it should be good for the rest of this, I would think. Possibly, maybe. And that should be enough for our transfer. We're going to have to use aero braking probably to actually stop there, which I was planning on doing. I don't want to waste the fuel, have a bigger rocket than I need or anything silly like that. Let's hope this is going to work. Shouldn't be that much of a big deal. The payload inside should be balanced, I would think. Let's peek inside. Kind of give away the... that looks balanced to me. They're both opposite, so that should be counterbalanced. Of course, I think it's flying from the wrong core, isn't it, too? I don't know how much of a difference that makes. It should be flying from the core that's down in here, but I can't get to that. Oh, I saw it. Can I control from here, please? Control from here. I don't know if that made a difference. It doesn't look like it did. Not enough electricity. What are you talking about? And are we on course? Let's see what happens here. Seems to have no problem twisting with that reaction wheel, so I'm happy I put that on there. I have to modify my... I don't have a reaction wheel like that on there. I'm going to put one of those on my other probe. This is going to be telling. Let's see what happens when we get the quick jolt of acceleration here. How far does it dip? And can it recover? Did not seem to really move. I think the reaction wheel is strong enough to counteract the 0.1 ton that it's off or whatever. It's like a half a ton, so it's not a huge amount. It does make me worry. So this bad boy is now parked, and we're gonna activate, even though I guess I could probably point it at the relay. Let's go ahead and extend target and comm relay station activate. Let's just see how the batteries hold out. Are we draining actively here while we're in the sun? No, so it should at least be good in the sun. And alright, cool beans. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to the vehicle assembly building, make a couple changes to my other probe that we're gonna be sending up, and then we can get that thing launched. Alright, so this is my second Eve craft that we're gonna launch. I did a couple, it's like almost an hourglass shape here, so I added a bunch of struts. It has this booster stage here to hopefully, according to the math, by the time we get to that stage, we're going to be at like 0.25 thrust to weight ratio. So I wanted to make sure that we had a little bit extra. So it actually kicks up to like 1.33. So that should give us a little bit of an extra boost, because I don't think we're going to be quite out of the atmosphere. We might not even be out of the atmosphere when we're actually burning this. So I just, the nuclear stage isn't very good in the atmosphere, and I wanted to make sure we're out of most of it at least by the time that went off. We get these big old solid rocket boosters and everything. I added these, like, what did they call them? Solid rocket booster, retro booster things. The reason I did that is just because these are kind of long, and I've been having problems in some of my experimental rockets with these not separating properly because they're so long, and I wanted to make sure that we got those far enough away from the main craft that things don't cause problems. There's actually two different ones. One's going to just burn down, that one's going to burn out, so I'm hoping it will get it separated quickly enough that it won't be a problem. And all of our staging looks about as right as it's going to be. Alright, looking pretty good so far. Got a lot of spin going here. A little worried about that. It's kind of drifting over to the side a little bit here, but I think that we'll probably get it sorted out once it reaches solid rocket separation. I added these, it's almost an engine cluster. It has three outside smaller engines and one of the, the skipper engines in the middle, and then LVT-30 engines on the outside to give it a little extra thrust while we're spinning fast. Alright, that worked beautifully. Look how pretty that is. Wow, that was cool. I'm gonna have to put those on more things. That made for a very nice separation. Look at the distance there too, and got a little bit of wobbles going here from the force of that, I think, but largely we're looking okay. It looks like it's stabilizing, and we've got about 90 seconds, a little more than 90 seconds left on this stage, so probably hit 20,000 meters or so with this stage, which I think I'm happy with. Our time to apoapsis is still decreasing, which means we're slowing down a little bit compared to... There we go, we're speeding up again. Compared to what we were doing. We don't want to catch our apoapsis, that's not good. This thing is a lot heavier because it has a lot more fuel here. The reason I have the extra fuel here is so that it can maneuver a little bit more, because it has 4 things to deliver, so I want to be able to do transfer orbits and change inclinations and stuff if I need to. Just give us a little more freedom with where we drop that stuff off. And plus it has 4 probes, so it's heavier anyway. And I hope all my staging is right. And what stage do we need to stop at? Stage 3? I want to make sure it doesn't go too far if we're still burning here. Alright. Not super excited about this ascent profile right now. We only have 40 seconds left on this stage, and we're kind of... That's a bad angle. It means we're having to correct a lot for not having enough thrust, pretty much, but If she makes orbit, that's all I really care about. Where's my antenna? I should probably bust out that antenna just so we know we're good to go with that. I'm gonna hold off on the solar panels because they're kind of close to this stage. I want to make sure we don't break anything. That antenna's a little close too, but these should be going out that way, so I think they'll be all right. And did I move this up? Let's actually move these cowling things up here, the fairing, so that I can hold on to that a little longer. And separation looked good. You're still accelerating, losing time to apoapsis though, but our thrust to weight ratio never dropped below 1, so it should pull through and start lifting that higher at some point. The more time to apoapsis we have, the better, because it means that it's not going to be such an issue getting this thing up there. I'm starting to think this stage might not be big enough. I'm a little bit concerned about that. But our apoapsis is now getting up into the thin parts of the atmosphere. This is slowing down, maybe even going the other way now. It's at least stopped. Come on, time to apoapsis, start counting up. Yay! Okay. And we have almost a minute left on this stage. Now, hopefully the weight balance is right on this one. It's going to be a little bit different because I had to do this differently. It has the same big old heavy long-range satellite dish, but I had to balance this a little bit differently with these goo pods just because of how that shape works out. So we'll see how that actually ends up going. Hopefully it will go well. Coming up on sunrise here. Hopefully we're not too far behind the other craft here. Try to launch them relatively close to each other. I wonder if we can... Where is Eve right now? I mean, it's going to be towards the sun, obviously. It's a morning star, after all. Should be seeing it at some point soon, I would think. I think that might be Minmus there. I have the visual sky enhancement doohickey installed so you can see stuff better, which I very much like. I'm thinking about getting a new star field, one of those universe replacer mods. Oh, okay, that dipped down a little bit. I'm not sure our balance is perfect here. And it seems to pull it together. That wasn't too concerning. We seem to be more or less on course. Still gaining apoapsis. Our time to apoapsis is shooting up like crazy now, so I think this stage was a good call. This thing's got some thrust to it. This stage was a good call. I put parachutes on it optimistically, thinking they might be able to be recovered. Plus, it, you know, if I'm going to put something nose coney on here, I'm probably going to put parachutes if we're expecting those things to return. Granted, right now they won't do anything, but someday that might matter. And there's Jewel. Do not see our friend Eve. Goodbye. Now we are not accelerating nearly so quickly. Yeah, we're starting to lose time to apoapsis, but we built up enough there, 145 almost, that I feel like we'll probably be alright in that department now. I'm surprised I don't see Eve. That must be Moho. I don't know where Eve would be at this exact angle. It might be all the way down there or something, pretty low, because of the phase angles and whatnot. Or it might just be really close to the sun right now and we can't see it too. That sure is possible. If it's like right in between us and the sun, we wouldn't see it either. I suppose while we're on our way up, we can get to extending some panels. I put the big solar panels on this one, like I said, because there's room. So can't hurt to have bigger solar panels. I think the other one will probably be alright, but this dish does use quite a lot of power, so I wanted to make sure I had more than enough. Don't want to lose communications, and I guess it's more important to not lose communications with this one, just because it has the 4 probes. This mission isn't like hugely scientifically based. I mean, obviously there's a lot of science I'm aiming to do. I mean, the goo containers kind of up my science capacity a lot here. And then I have magna whatever thingies on here and stuff too. So there's a decent number of instruments on here. So I don't know how much science I'm really expecting to get back from this mission, but none of this is returning to Kerbal, so that's gonna undermine that to some degree. These are all unmanned one-way probes. Alright, we're really this is gonna be out of the planet soon, which would be good. Our periapsis. Still losing ground on we're gaining ground on time to apoapsis again now, so I think we have made orbit all but actually officially having done it now. I mean, granted we still have to go the rest of the way. We're in space now. Something could still go catastrophically wrong, to be sure. It seems like it's going okay. I think our little ship is going to make it, and I'm going to go ahead and extend and target this thing right now too. Comm relay station. I guess I could target this at the other... Well, it doesn't have an extra dish, does it? So we'll do this and activate. So might as well start draining that power now to get used to it. There should not be a problem with these solar panels at all, and I have tons of battery on this thing too because of the rover. I keep calling them rovers, but they're just probes. They're not, they don't have wheels on them or anything. Yeah, so I'm about 99% sure that one is Moho. Eve is probably right in there somewhere, and I just can't see it. That looks like a planet too. That doesn't just look like a star. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I want to get the universe replacers, so that I have better looking stars, so I can actually tell the difference between these planets and the stars. It's hard to tell sometimes. Alright, so let's see how this maneuver goes. Seems like it's not going to be much of a maneuver at all. Actually, we're only talking about 25 meters per second. Cool beans, man. That was a shallow approach into orbit, but it looks like it worked out. So both of our ships are more or less ready to go once we get this done, and we're still gonna have that only took like an hour out of our time, so we're gonna have some time to kill before we can do our transfer burn still. So that's kind of good and kind of bad. Let's see how this burns just accurately at this now. I'll make sure I got my balance right here, or at least close enough that it can compensate. This has an SAS on it too, right? Yeah, reaction wheel. It's not as many reaction wheels as I used to have. I don't know where they all are, but it looks like it's holding target. It doesn't have any sort of RCS, so it's a little hard for it to react as quickly as I would like, but we're kind of, you know, Eve is kind of a planet where you can get away with kind of gross maneuvering because of the size of its gravity well and stuff, so I think we'll be alright. Cool beans, man. Both ships are parked and ready to go. So I guess what we can do, there's really not much to do in terms of other missions I have going now, so I should probably just go focus on something on Kerbal or something, and do some time warping and get ready for this. Let's get rid of all this clutter for the moment. I don't know which one I'm going to send first. I do want them to arrive separately, so that's just going to kill warp. That's probably good enough, yeah. Close alarm details. Alright, can we just focus on Kerbal here and do warpiness? There's going to be a jerk about it. Yeah, it's going to be a jerk about it. So let's switch to our station out here, which we actually should do anyway, so we can get some dishes pointed at those ships. Station? You hear station? Oh god, it's not doing the glitchy... Is that my station? Why is this... Oh, it's doing that silly thing where if you switch to it really far away, it's like zoomed out a billion miles. Okay, so we're gonna have to do some work to make sure that there's some relay stations set up, some relay satellites or something set up so that this doesn't lose contact all the time. But for now, it's got contact, so let's go ahead and do Eve Observer with this one and activate. And we shall do mission control, that's fine. I don't want to change that one and lose contact. Eve Probe, activate. And how is the power situation out here now? Seems good. So, we got our little beginning of a communication station. It's doing everything I needed to do right now. Let's go ahead and update the save just in case it decides to crash on me when I'm switching stuff. And actually, we're just going to stay here and do our time warp for a little bit. Oh, 3 hours to go. Slowing down. Boom. Delete. Alright, so I'm actually going to go back to the Space Center to do this because I don't want to be zoomed out 10 million miles and think things are exploding. Easier to find the ship I want to. So I think we're going to send the lighter one first. So that means the first one I sent up, which is the Eve Observer. And we got to work out how we get this done. Alright, and let's make sure our dish is active before we do anything. Active, comm relay state. Okay, should be good. Batteries aren't draining at any particularly alarming speed. So, where are you, my friend Eve? There you are. Set as target. I don't know how long these transfer windows actually are. Now, I do know one thing I learned from my previous adventures to Moho is that we want to do our burn if we're going to inside planets on the light side of the planet. And we want to go kind of like that vaguely. We'll figure it out from here. Alright, we already... That was... Let's bring this up so we can actually see what we're doing here. Are we inclined relative? Yeah, we are inclined a little bit, aren't we? So I'm going to fiddle with this for a minute and get you when we get an encounter. Alright, we got a closest approach coming up here. And starting at separation. Come on. Getting further away again. Wrong way. Should probably come over here so I can actually see what the heck's going on. Alright, so that gives us an encounter, and I can probably make adjustments from there. So we don't have a lot of time till this burn comes up. So let's actually go ahead and execute, and I am going to let MechJeb do the execution here. Maneuver node planner. Execute next node, please. And then we'll figure out the other one. Now, hopefully this doesn't burn through the atmosphere. I didn't actually check that or anything, but I don't think it will. Could be burning kind of close to the planet. I didn't really check our flight path that close at Kerbal. Nah, it looks like it'll be safe. It looks like it'll be safe, and we're looking at a 4-minute burn. So I'm just going to let MechJeb handle this, and I'll be back when we have some results. Alright, well, we're wrapping up our burn here. We're definitely on an escape trajectory. The camera changed. And we'll check our results in a second. So we'll be able to do corrections further out, and our weight balance seems pretty good because it was able to stay right on that. So let's see what the look we're looking at is here. And do we still have our encounter? We do, and we have a 14 million meter thing. We're gonna have to make adjustments because we want to go inside the atmosphere, make sure that we get some gravity burning, because I'm only gonna have 1700 meters of delta V left. That's a little worrying, just because I know we're gonna be going pretty darn fast. But look at Kerbal just disappearing there. But we don't really have time to enjoy the view from this ship. Let's go ahead and set up an alarm clock so I don't forget to do it right now. Well, actually, let's not do that because it's going to do a sphere of influence change, and then I don't want to set up a sphere of influence change alarm because that's going to be stupid to do that twice. Let's get our other ship plotted out here. Now, it's going to be kind of important to make sure these don't arrive at the same time. We'll be able to tweak that a little bit, I suppose, on the way too. I probably should have checked to see when that was going to be arriving and made a little note of that, but I didn't. What? Okay, that arm was just being silly. I don't know what that was about. So, I'm going to go ahead and plot another fancy-dancy maneuver here, and I think I want to let this go around once before I do, just because I don't want these to be too close together. Half hour shouldn't make much of a difference in terms of our window here, but it could make a big difference in terms of arrival. Alright, so I'm going to figure this out and be back. Alright, well, we got another encounter here, and again, we're going to have to do some adjustments on this one, but I'm going to call it good and execute it, and we'll make do, see what we can get out of it. This ship has a whole lot more fuel, so it's not as big of a concern with this one either, so I believe this will work out. Then after we get these burns done, I'm going to check to see the separation and the arrival here to make sure that we have, ideally, like maybe a day would be good of separation. Are we going to do some time warp in here? There we go. MechJeb worries me sometimes. This ship's cooler looking. I like this one. I don't know what it is about it being all bulbous in the front and kind of like going back. It looks all sleek. Well, I wouldn't say sleek, but kind of cool. Okay, I was going to say we can't be burning now because we were most definitely facing the planet. It just got a little bit off course like it does sometimes. Don't know how long of a burn this is going to be, but I imagine it's going to be somewhere around 4 minutes again. This ship maybe even a little bit longer just because of the extra mass here. We'll see, I guess, in a moment. A little worried about the trajectory here. We're not going to be burning through the planet, are we? Scares me in a similar fashion. Nah, I think we'll be good. Maybe. Yeah, we'll probably be good. We're going to slide around here. Shouldn't lose too much altitude during this burn. Look, it's good to have a 100,000 meter orbit just to have a little safety margin. If we were in a 75, this one probably would have been a problem, this burn. So we're looking at an almost an 8-minute burn for this one. This is going to be a little bit slower going. So I guess I will meet you on the other end of this burn. Alright, so this burn has been wrapped up pretty much as well. Looks like we're doing a fairly good job of staying on target. One of the things the visual enhancement mod does is it allows satellites to reflect light up to a certain distance, and I think that might be a satellite right there. That looks like suspiciously like a satellite right where my mouse cursor is. I don't know if it'll come out on YouTube or not, but it's kind of cool seeing those satellites whipping around. So that ship is got a good head start on us. So let's go ahead and just update the save, make sure things don't go crazy when I try to switch between ships here. So what are we looking at first of all here? Did we get a good encounter? We sure did, and not a good encounter. That's like way out, but we'll fine tune it. 29 days, 21 hours, and our other friend here. Switch to. I don't even really need to see the ship to do this one. Just go to the map mode, so I don't care if it's zoomed out 1 billion miles or not. And it's not. That's interesting. But anywho, Eve, show me your secrets. So 28. They're close together, but not that close. I think it's 29 hours, and then this one's 28, so that should be a good enough separation. So let's just do a little bit of time warping and actually get to our escape. And I can set up some alarms from there. So these two are going to probably be close enough to each other a lot of the way to communicate with each other. Have we lost contact already? I think that satellite is possibly problematic. Are we getting a signal back? I don't know what's happening. There's all sorts of lines being drawn. I can't tell where the command center is there even. Lag. Okay. Try to not go too fast here so I don't screw stuff up. Yeah, I can't tell what's going on with those signals over there. Alright, and escape. We're gonna wait just a minute to see the other one escape too. In fact, let's switch to it. Can I not switch to it? They should have communications. What the heck's going on with that? That's worrying. That's a little bit worrying. Well, let's at least get it out into space here and we'll figure out the comm stuff when we get to it. Go. Boom. Alright, well, we'll let them do their little thing. I'm going to run some science when I can get back in contact with them, whenever that's going to end up being. But I think I'm going to end it here for today. Where is Kerbal? Can we get a view of Kerbal? There's the sun. Let's try to figure this out. I'm actually curious. Like vaguely, like that should give us a view of Kerbal somewhere. Huh. I do not know. It's hard to. Oh, there it is. There it is. I don't know if that's even going to show up, but I'm taking a screenshot anyway. So, anyway, guys, when we come back, we'll do some maneuvering with these if we can get them back in contact. If not, that was a waste of time, and we'll have to figure out something else to do. But thanks for watching. Catch you later.